Hello, good morning, and welcome to today's edition of the Daf Yomi, Daf 48, Omid A. We do Menachos, using Strength Self-Edition, and hope all is good wherever you are. So let's dive straight in. It says, just carrying on from the last Omid, the Gemara cites another discussion concerning the sheep and loaves of Shurah. The sages taught in a Baita, if one thought of the two sheep are required that, but they were accompanied by 4 loaves rather than the requisite 2 loaves, he draws 2 of the loaves from the 4 and waves them together with the sheep, and the rest of the loaves are permitted to be eaten through redemption. The sages said that the following before Rav Chisda: this bright is not according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. So what does that mean? Hadalan Kurabi. Rashi explains that the price is understood according to the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, who holds that slaughtering the sheep does not invest the loaves with an inherent sanctity. Consequently, 2 of the loaves can be weighed with the sheep before the blood of the sheep is sprinkled, and the other 2 can be taken outside the temple courtyard and redeemed there. Who hold that the slaughter of the sheep grants the loaves inherent sanctity, and in this case, 2 loaves of inherent sanctity, but it is not known which ones. As if the price is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he says, since he says that the slaughter of the sheep consecrates the loaves in inherent sanctity, when the Bible states that he redeemed the loaves, where does he redeem them? The process of redemption would be to place all 4 loaves in front of him and state that whichever 2 of the loaves do not have inherent sanctity are redeemed for money. If he redeems them outside of the temple courtyard, since it is written, and the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering for the Lord of the 2 lambs, Leviticus 23:20, he disqualifies the 2 loaves that possess inherent sanctity by causing them to leave the courtyard, at which point they are no longer before the Lord. Conversely, if he redeems them inside the courtyard, once the 2 loaves that do not possess inherent sanctity are redeemed, he violates the prohibition against bringing non-sacred items into the temple courtyard. Okay, so said to him, actually the bride is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and one redeems loaves inside the courtyard. So what does that mean? After the loaves are redeemed, they are eaten inside the courtyard, and it is not known which loaves have inherent sanctity and which have been redeemed. Nevertheless, it is not considered to be a violation of the prohibition against bringing non-sacred items into the courtyard, because the non-sacred loaves came into the courtyard by themselves, i.e. they were already there when they became non-sacred, and were not actually brought into the courtyard in a non-sacred state. Ravina said to Ravashi, isn't taught in a Baita with regard to this very case. When he redeems the loaves, he may redeem them only outside the courtyard. This contradicts Rav Chisda's claim, and according to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, one redeems the loaves inside the courtyard. Ravashi answered, this Baita is certainly in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. This seems to indicate, whereas this Baita is certainly in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, the previous Baita can be understood in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rashi holds that their first Baita is also in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. And the Rambam rules in accordance with the first Baita, and also rules that the redemption must be performed inside the courtyard. This indicates that he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and accepts the reason that there is no prohibition against redeeming items, and thereby rendering them non-sacred in the temple courtyard. And that's from Mahari Korkas Hoknoten. Because if it were in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, when he brings the loaves inside the courtyard, he thereby disqualifies them by causing them to leave the courtyard. Rav Ahar, son of Rava, said to Ravashi, let us say that the Baita, which states that if the sheep of Shivur are slaughtered with 4 loaves instead of 2, till the 4 invested in the inherent sanctity, is a conclusive refutation of the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan that was stated with regard to the thanks offering, and one slaughtered accompanied by 80 loaves. If a thanks offering was slaughtered with 80 loaves, not even 40 of them become consecrated. This is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, Rambam Sefer Avod, Hilchot Mesudek Kedushin, rather than the required 40. In that case, Chizkiah says 40 of the 80 loaves are consecrated, and Rabbi Yochanan says not even 40 of the 80 loaves are consecrated. And one answers, wasn't stated with regard to this dispute. Rabbi Zeva says everyone, even Rabbi Yochanan, concedes that in a case where the individual bringing the offering said, let 40 of the 80 be consecrated, The Kadshu Alba Mitoch Shimonim. If a thanks offering was slaughtered with 80 loaves, and the owner of the offering had stipulated that 40 of the 80 loaves should be consecrated, we select 40 out of the 80 loaves. That must comprise 4 different types of loaves, and one of each type is set aside for the priest. The 40 loaves that were not selected are redeemed and rendered non-sacred. This is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, as interpreted by Rabbi Zeira. The Kesef Mishnah discusses why the Rambam did not decide the halacha in accordance with Chizkiah, who was Rabbi Yochanan's teacher. Rambam Sefer Vod Hilchot B'Sudim Mikdashin 12:15 that 40 are consecrated. Here too, one can say that the Brayso is referring to a case where one said, "Let 2 of the 4 loaves be consecrated." The Gemara cites another discussion concerning the sheep and the Shavuot. Rabbi Chanina Tirata taught a bride before Rabbi Yochanan. If one slaughtered 4 sheep for Shavuot, rather than required 2 accompanied by 2 loaves, if one slaughtered 4 sheep accompanied by the 2 loaves, he selects 2 of them and sprinkles the blood of those sheep not for their own sake, and waves the remaining 2 sheep together with the loaves. This is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chanina Tirata. And that's the Rambam Sefer Avoda Hilchot Tamidim Misofim 8:13. He draws 2 of the sheep out of the 4 and sprinkles their blood not for the sake of the sheep of Shavuot. He then sprinkles the blood of the other sheep for the sake of the sheep of Shavuot. And if you do not say to do this, but rather require him to first sprinkle the blood of the 2 sheep for their own sake, then you have caused the loss of the latter 2 sheep, since they were previously fit to have their blood sprinkled on the altar for the sake of the sheep of Shavuot, and were disqualified from the status when the blood of the other 2 sheep was sprinkled for that purpose. They are no longer fit to have the blood sprinkled even for the sake of a different offering. Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Chanina Tirata, and does the court say to a person, arise and sin in order that you may gain? Is it proper for the priest to sprinkle the blood of the first pair not for their own sake, so that the second pair will remain fit? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah in Zevachim 77a that Tanoim disagree concerning this matter? Mentioned is in the case of the limbs of a sin offering, whose flesh is eaten by the priest and may not be burned on the altar, now intermingled with the limbs of a burnt offering. So what's the footnote? Avei chatash shenis alvu be'avri ola. If the limbs of a sin offering were intermingled with the limbs of a burnt offering, the intermingled limbs should all be left overnight, and then they are burned in a plate in the temple courtyard designated for burning disqualified sacrificial items. This is according to the opinion of the rabbis, and that's the Rambam Sefer Vod Hilchot B'Sudim question 620. Which are burned on the altar. Rabbi Eliezer says, the priest shall place all the limbs above on the altar, and I view the flesh of the limbs of the sin offering above the altar as though they are pieces of wood burned on the altar, not an offering. And the rabbis say one should wait until the form of all the intermingled decays, and they will all go out to the place of burning in the temple courtyard, where all disqualified offerings of the most sacred order are burned. Rabbi Yochanan continued, according to your opinion, why did the rabbis say that the mixture is burned? That the court say to the priest instead, arise and sin by burning all of the limbs on the altar, including limbs of the sin offering, in order that you may gain by performing the mitzvah sacrifice the limbs of the burnt offering. Rabbi Chanina Tirata answered Rabbi Yochanan, we do say arise and sin with the sin offering in order that you may gain with regard to the sin offering, since it is the same type of offering. Similarly, one may sin with regard to the sheep of Shavuot in order to gain with regard to the other sheep brought for the same offering. We do not say arise and sin with the sin offering in order that you may gain with regard to a burnt offering. Therefore, the rabbis prohibit burning the limbs of the sin offering on the altar in order to allow for the burning of the limbs of the burnt offering. Rabbi Yochanan asked Rabbi Chanina Tirata, and does the court actually say arise and sin in order that you may gain in a case where the sin and the gain are with regard to one matter? But isn't it taught in a bride concerning a case of the 2 sheep of Shavuot, where one slaughtered them not for their own sake? If the sheep of Shavuot was slaughtered not for their own sake, or not at the appropriate time, the blood is sprinkled and the meat is eaten. When the community has not fulfilled this obligation, If this occurred on Shabbat, they may not sprinkle the blood. If they did so, the offering is accepted. And other sacrificial parts may be burned on the altar after Shabbat, and its meat may be eaten. 15:19. Or where he slaughtered them either before the time, either before Shavuot, or after the time that the blood shall be sprinkled, although it may be sprinkled for the sake of a peace offering, and the meat. Although it shall be sprinkled for the sake of a peace offering, and the meat shall be eaten. Rabbi Yochanan continued, and if the festival was on Shabbat, one may not sprinkle the blood. The sacrificial portions may not be burned on the altar, and the meat may not be eaten. This is because the improper slaughter of the sheep disqualify them as communal offerings, whereas individual offerings may not be sacrificed on Shabbat. But if the priest nevertheless sprinkled the blood of these sheep on Shabbat, the offering is accepted, in that it is permitted to burn in sacrificial portions on the altar in the evening after the conclusion of Shabbat, and the meat may be eaten. Rabbi Yochanan concluded his proof. But according to your opinion, why is it not permitted to sprinkle the blood on Shabbat? And the corsair arise in sin by sprinkling the blood of these offerings in order that you may gain. You must burn the sacrificial portions in the evening and then eat their meat. Rabbi Chanin Tirata answered, we do say arise and sin on Shabbat in order that you may gain on Shabbat. We do not say arise and sin on Shabbat that you may gain on a weekday. The Gemara asks, and is it so that with regard to two separate matters, the court does not say that one should sin with regard to one in order that one should gain with regard to the other? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah 8:9, in the case of a bottle of wine that is teruma that broke in the upper section of a wine press? That's elyono, the upper section of a wine press. There's a picture here, page 302 if you have the Gemara. Upper press, small pipe, lower press. In the Talmudic era, wine presses were typically carved into a rock, into which grapes were placed and trampled on. Between the upper press where the grapes were pressed and the lower press where the wine was collected, and a small pipe through which liquid flowed. And in the lower section of the wine press there is non-sacred impure wine, and the wine that is teruma will flow into the lower press and become impure. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua both concede that one is able to rescue even a quarter log of a vias. This is a unit of liquid volume that serves as a standard measure of measurement for certain purposes. For example, a quarter log is the minimum amount of wine over which Kiddush may be recited, the amount of wine that a Nazarite is flogged for drinking, and the minimum amount of certain food for whose transfer from one domain to another is liable on Shabbat. In addition, a quarter log of blood from a corpse imparts impurity. In contemporary terms, the exact volume of a quarter log is subject to dispute among authorities, with opinions ranging from 60 to 120 cc. Of the wine that is teruma in a pure vessel that retains ritual purity, he should rescue it, even if in the process the rest of the wine that is teruma will be mixed with the non-sacred wine. This will cause the owner of financial loss because the wine that is teruma will become impure, causing entire mixture to become prohibited for consumption. But if not, one can save any of the wine that is teruma, e.g. if one does not have pure vessel, which the collector Rabbi Eliezer says at the end of the Amud. Join me for the rest of that in the next Amud. Alright, take care, all the best, bye.